Imagine walking through a forest 60,000 years ago. You hear voices, not animal sounds, voices. You turn around, expecting to see people like you, but they are not exactly like you. Their bodies are stockier, their faces are different, their brows are heavier, their tools are strange. Their language, if they have one, does not sound like yours. And then you realize something unsettling. You are not the only kind of human. For most of our story, Homo sapiens did not live alone. There were other humans on Earth, Neanderthals, Denisovans, Homo erectus, and probably others we have not even discovered yet. Different human species walked, hunted, made tools, raised children, survived winters, and looked up at the same sky. But today only one kind of human is left. Us. So what happened? Why are we the only humans left? The answer is not as simple as we were smarter. That is the easy story. Homo sapiens arrived, outsmarted everyone, and took over the planet. But the real story is stranger. Because Neanderthals were not stupid, they made tools, they controlled fire, they hunted large animals, they cared for injured members of their groups, they survived in Ice Age Europe for hundreds of thousands of years. That is not what a failed species looks like. Denisovans were not weak either. We know much less about them, but their DNA still lives inside some people today. That means they were close enough to us to have children with Homo sapiens, and those children survived. So the mystery is not why they existed, the mystery is why they disappeared. One major reason may be that the world kept changing. Ancient humans lived through brutal climate swings. Ice sheets grew and shrank, forests became grasslands, grasslands became frozen steppe, animals migrated, food sources moved, good land became empty, safe routes became dangerous. In that kind of world, survival was not only about strength, it was about flexibility. And Homo sapiens may have been unusually flexible. We could live in forests, deserts, coasts, mountains, grasslands, and frozen regions. We could hunt large animals, gather plants, fish, collect shellfish, make clothing, build shelters, create tools from stone, bone, wood, and antler, and move into new environments quickly. Other humans adapted too, but Homo sapiens seem to have been extremely good at changing strategy. If one food disappeared, we found another. If one tool was not enough, we made a new one. If one environment failed, we moved. If one group learned something useful, that knowledge could spread. That may have been one of our biggest advantages. Not just intelligence, shared intelligence. A single human is fragile. A group of humans sharing information across generations is much harder to kill. Imagine two groups facing the same harsh winter. One group knows only the local hunting grounds. The other group has allies far away, stories about where herds move, tools made from materials gathered across long distances, and traditions passed down from grandparents to children. The second group has more than bodies. It has a network, and networks may have helped Homo sapiens survive when others struggled. This is where culture becomes a survival weapon. Culture is not just art, music, decoration, or rituals. Culture is memory outside the body. It is how to make a better blade, where to find water, which animal paths matter, how to sew warm clothing, how to prepare food safely, which plants heal, which plants poison, and which places to avoid when the season changes. Other human species probably had culture too, but Homo sapiens may have developed larger, more connected, more flexible cultural systems. We seem to have exchanged objects, symbols, ideas, and possibly mates across wider networks. That matters because when the environment collapses, isolation can kill. If one group fails alone, its knowledge dies with it. If many groups are connected, knowledge can survive, move, and multiply. But there is another possibility. Maybe we did not simply replace other humans. Maybe we absorbed some of them. This is one of the strangest facts about being human today. Many people alive now carry Neanderthal DNA. Some populations also carry Denisovan DNA. That means Homo sapiens met other human species and sometimes had children with them. So in a way, Neanderthals and Denisovans did not completely vanish. Parts of them are still here, in our immune systems, in adaptations to altitude, in small pieces of DNA passed down through thousands of generations. That changes the story. The other humans were not always destroyed in one clean ending. Some died out, some were outcompeted, some may have been absorbed into larger Homo sapiens populations. Extinction can look like disappearance, but sometimes it looks like being swallowed into another group until your separate identity fades. Still, interbreeding does not explain everything. There were probably conflicts too. Not necessarily endless war, but competition. Different human groups may have wanted the same hunting grounds, caves, water sources, tool materials, and migration routes. If Homo sapiens arrived in a region already occupied by Neanderthals, there may have been tension. Even without constant violence, competition can be deadly. If two groups need the same food, the group with slightly better tools, larger networks, faster reproduction, or more flexible strategies may slowly push the other to the edge. Extinction does not always happen in a dramatic final battle. Sometimes it happens through small losses repeated over centuries. A worse winter, a failed hunt, a smaller group, fewer children surviving, less contact with other groups, more isolation, less genetic diversity, then another bad season, then another. Until one day, a kind of human that survived for hundreds of thousands of years is simply gone. Neanderthals may have been especially vulnerable to this because their populations were probably small and scattered compared with later Homo sapiens groups. Small populations are fragile. If numbers are low, every disaster matters more. A disease outbreak matters more. A bad winter matters more. A few deaths in childbirth matter more. A failed generation matters more. Small groups can survive for a long time, but they have less room for error. Homo sapiens may have had larger networks and eventually larger populations, giving us more chances to recover when things went wrong. There is also the question of babies. Human survival is not only about adults hunting and making tools, it is about children living long enough to become adults. If one species or group has slightly better childcare, slightly better food sharing, slightly safer camps, slightly better clothing, slightly stronger social bonds, or slightly more reliable help from relatives and allies, those small differences can become enormous over thousands of years. Evolution does not always need one huge advantage. Sometimes it works through tiny advantages repeated again and again. One more child survives. One more group makes it through winter. One more tool idea spreads. One more alliance prevents isolation. One more migration opens a new land. And slowly, one human species becomes the last one standing. But this does not mean Homo sapiens were destined to win. That is important. We look at history from the end and assume it had to happen this way, but it did not. There were moments when Homo sapiens could have failed. Our ancestors faced hunger, disease, predators, cold, drought, dangerous births, and disappearing landscapes. We were not guaranteed to survive. We are not here because we were perfect. We are here because our ancestors were adaptable enough, social enough, lucky enough, and connected enough to keep going. And maybe that is the real answer. Why are we the only humans left? Because being human was once an experiment with many branches. Some branches lasted longer than others. Some were incredibly successful for a time. Some adapted to cold. Some adapted to mountains. Some spread across huge distances. But Homo sapiens became the branch that could combine flexibility, cooperation, tools, language, culture, networks, and movement in a way that kept working as the world changed. We did not survive because we were the strongest. We did not survive because the others were stupid, and we did not survive completely alone. We carry traces of other humans inside us. The last human species is not pure replacement, it is also memory. A living archive of encounters, migrations, competition, mixing, survival, and loss. So when we ask why we are the only humans left, the answer is both simple and unsettling. We are the only ones left because the ancient world was hard, unstable, and unforgiving. And somehow, our kind became the best at not disappearing. But the emptiest part of the story is this. For most of human history, the word human did not mean just us. It meant a whole family. Different bodies, different faces, different ways of surviving, different human worlds. Now when we look around, we see only Homo sapiens, one surviving branch of a much larger tree. And every person alive today is standing at the end of that branch, carrying the question no other human species is left to answer. Why us?